What's going on, everyone? Blue Corner MMA, welcome back. In this video, I want to talk about some of the comments that Aljamain Sterling has made here recently in regards to his last contest with Peter Yan. As many of you know, Peter Yan was disqualified because of an illegal knee, and Aljamain Sterling has come out and given his thoughts and some comments about the contest and also what's coming up next. So I'm going to give you my thoughts on what he said, and I'd love to hear from you guys as well. So be sure to drop in the comments below what you think about what Aljamain had to say about the contest, and I'll be sure to post the top comments in one of the upcoming videos here soon. And as always, if you like the content, be sure to treat that like button like Tony Ferguson treats a steel pole with his leg and absolutely destroy it. Now, let's get into the video. So, as I was mentioning, Aljamain Sterling has come out with some comments in a recent interview of what he thought about their last fight, things moving forward, and I'm going to give you my thoughts. But before I do that, let's go over exactly what he said in that recent interview. So Sterling goes on to say, it's fascinating because any other sport, when you do something intentionally illegal, you get suspended, you get fined, you get ejected from the game. This guy's getting rewarded with a rematch, which I get it's a big fight, but it's like, we can just break the rules and nothing's ever going to happen to us. I can just jump the octagon, nothing's ever going to happen to me. I can just go fight another corner, or I can push him after the bell and nothing's ever going to happen. I feel like when you have rules for a reason, you've got to somewhat enforce them. Otherwise, let's just run amok. I'm okay with that. Let me run amok. Let me start smacking guys and let me start doing the crazy shit that I want to do instead of being a professional about the way I handle my business. So that was the whole thing with Cejudo, and that's how I feel about Peter Yan. I feel like his ass should have been suspended or something. Pay me some money for an illegal foul that may take years off my career. I look at it as it was an intentional foul. He was frustrated that he couldn't get me out of there. I was eating his biggest shots, and he was probably thinking, what else am I supposed to do with this guy? You want to say he ragdolled me because he tripped me a couple times on a slippery octagon. I don't give a shit. I really don't, because the octagon was super slippery. I couldn't get none of my takedowns, and those are facts. You can see all the other fighters that are slipping and sliding all over the cage. Kevin Holland throwing a head kick and then busting his ass. It's like, I don't know what they're doing in terms of COVID stuff, spraying on the canvas, but this is something I think they've got to look into because it's affecting the fights. You've got guys who pressure, put all their weight in, and it's like you're just sliding. So you can never get your footing underneath you to actually get your takedowns. At the end of the day, I'm happy. I put myself in a position to fight for a world title. It's eluded me for super long, and unfortunately the fight went the way it went. We're going to do it again. If that's the best Peter Yan versus a watered-down Sterling, people don't even know. I had my morning shakeout. I ate at 10:30. I ate the food that the UFC PI gave me for breakfast, a very small portion of food, and that's all I had until the fight. Normally I do the same thing, but I eat a bigger breakfast, and I fight a lot earlier. So I felt very depleted going into the fight in the back room. I don't want to make any excuses, but my performance was hindered, and I feel like if I perform like that, still ate his biggest shots, best shots, I like my chances in a rematch, and I'm super excited. All right, so those were Sterling's comments that he made about his last bout and just things that are upcoming. Now I'm going to give you my thoughts on it. And gotta say, I'm super disappointed in Sterling, honestly. Don't get me wrong, let me just go ahead and get this out there. Yes, it was an illegal knee. Peter Yan made a mistake. But to sit here and say that he was frustrated because he couldn't get Sterling out of there, I don't see it that way. I just don't. I mean, he was dominating the fight the whole time. There was never an instance where Yan was even remotely in danger. I want to say that the takedown attempts for Sterling were 1 for 17, but Peter Yan got him down 7. It was either 6 of 6 or 7 out of 7 takedown attempts. So to sit there and say the octagon's slippery, why is it only slippery for you, the one who's the takedown expert, versus Peter Yan, who's the stand-up guy, and he's getting you down 7 times, 6 or 7 times, and he was 100% on his attempts. I'm not buying the whole octagon was slippery thing. You didn't have that. I didn't hear you making any excuses, or Sandhagen making any excuses when you went for that one. I mean, you rushed him at the very beginning, first round, first like 40 seconds, got the takedown, tapped him out. No, nothing was being said then, so I don't like this whole the octagon was slippery or this or that, or he didn't ragdoll. Yes, he did. I'm sorry, just admit it. Just admit that you were bested, and let's be honest. Peter Yan handed him I mean, just handed him the championship. I mean, legit just had to hand it to him. And then he's sitting here saying that nothing happened to this guy. He lost his championship in a fight he was dominating. Now, if he was losing the fight and he did something just like, I mean, let's go crazy and talk about like the Mike Tyson biting Evander Holyfield's ear off. Okay, yeah, totally. But he has I'm not trying to sit here and say that Peter Yan, knew this or knew that or whatever, but he does have a good argument when he was saying that his hands were coming off the ground, because that's what he was saying immediately after the knee. He was doing his hands like this, saying they were off the ground. His knee was still down. That's a downed opponent. Threw the illegal knee. It was a mistake. Apparently his corner was yelling at him to throw it. Whatever. But I do not think it was frustrated because he couldn't get you out of there. That fight was going, I don't think that fight was going the full 5 rounds. They still had another round. They still had that round and another round to go, and Sterling was fading and fading hard. There's a reason why he was on the ground, not getting up. There was nothing he could do. Everything he tried. So you want to tell me that you are 1 for like 16 or 17 on attempts, and it's because of a slippery octagon? I don't buy that. I don't buy it at all. And the time you got Peter Yan down, he's getting up with ease. And Peter Yan's taking you down every single attempt he had. So I'm not buying that excuse. And then, speaking of excuses, as you saw, he goes on to say that he ate a smaller breakfast than he normally does and he was depleted. Not to make any excuses, though, and the entire thing was one big excuse. Just say that you got bested, I want to do it again, and let's run it back. I was a huge Sterling fan before this. I still like Sterling, don't get me wrong. I think he's fun to watch. But this is just showing me another side of him. He was so confident in himself before, and now it's just coming out that, I don't know, maybe this is because of confidence or ego or whatever. Who knows? But let's be real, guys. Let's be real. He did get ragdolled. He was getting dominated that entire fight. He got bested, and he was handed this championship. He wants to pretend like, and then other things. I don't know how long it was after that he said this. He was talking about the things he was thinking in the octagon. He was like, how much time do I have left? Or, how much time do I have left? Or I don't want this to be. Either way, he said he was thinking all these things in the octagon. Now, I've had 3 different concussions in my life, and none of them were from a knee that was supposed to, put me. I've had concussions just from sports and other things just in my life, and I promise you, I'm not thinking anything logically from a concussion. And if he was as out as he said he was, and I'm taking his word for it because he's the one who got kneed. I'm not arguing that Peter Yan should not have been punished, and his punishment was giving up the belt. Because Aljamain Sterling was able to walk out of the octagon on his own. He went over and did an interview right after it. I'm telling you guys, I've had concussions that were from supposedly something not near as violent as what he's making this knee out to be. And I promise you, I could barely look at it. I couldn't stand the lights. My head was killing me. And I can't tell you anything that I said immediately after. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't even think. I remember a time where I was playing in a basketball game. We're in the playoffs, and I don't remember anything after it. I didn't come to until I don't know how long after. Still couldn't tell you. I just remember when I came to, I was super nauseous. The lights were killing my head. But they said that I was on the bench, and I tried to just walk in and check myself in the game without going to if you're familiar with basketball, you have to go up to the desk where they keep the scorekeepers and everything else, and you have to touch, check in, whatever, wait for your turn. I'm trying to walk onto the court while there's a play still going on, not in the middle of a timeout, not during free throws, nothing. I'm trying to walk into the game while it's still going on. That's what the concussion did to me. Now, those are my experiences. Maybe you can do some of those things, but if you can do some of those things, I don't think it's a concussion. They called mine a mild one, and that's what I was doing. So, I don't know. I don't like the excuses that are being made, and he is making excuses. He was even trying to get out of doing this fight again. That's the whole Cejudo comments. He was talking about doing that. come on, you got to run this one back. I don't know. I don't see the results being that different. Maybe he comes out and he paces himself a little bit more, but I don't know. I think Peter Yan's got his number. He did ragdoll him. I wish Sterling would just admit to that. Hey, yep, he was besting me, but he shouldn't have done the knee. Now I get a chance to correct it, and you should have finished me, and you should have stuck with your original plan without doing the illegal knee, because now I'm going to come back better and I'm going to win this time. That's how I wish he would have approached it. You know what I mean? Like Anthony Smith, even he's getting worked by John Jones, and he had a far harder knee thrown on him, and he continued the fight. And after the fight, he didn't make any excuses. I'm not saying these illegal knees should not be punished. Yes, I believe Peter Yan should have given up his belt, but I wish Sterling would have just handled it differently and just admit to everyone that he was. You don't even have to say it out loud. I wouldn't just say, yeah, I was lucky. He gave it to me. You don't have to say that. Just admit that you were getting beat and that was Peter Yan's biggest mistake, because now you get to come back a better version of yourself and learn from that first fight. That's what I would have liked to have seen. Would love to hear what you guys think, but gotta say, I'm disappointed ultimately.